The Allport Scale is a tool for measuring prejudice in society that was developed by psychologist Gordon Allport. Its purpose is to spell out and track levels of prejudice and its manifestations. There are 5 levels to this scale. According to Allport, activity on one level makes transition to a more intense level easier. Prejudice is a negative or hostile attitude towards a person simply because they belong to a perceived group. They are presumed to have negative qualities, often on the basis of false information or stereotypes. At Allport's time of writing, the persecution of Jews under Nazi Germany was recent history. He used this example to explain his scale, that hateful acts can build on each other and even turn to genocide. But the Allport scale is not confined to one moment in history and should not be viewed only in the context of 1930s Germany. It is rather a tool that can be applied to understand prejudice and the violence it can lead to at any point, including today. Let's explore the scale level by level. Verbal disapproval. Verbal disapproval is making negative comments about a certain group without directly addressing the target of the prejudice. For example, a racist joke made behind someone's back. In Allport's original text, he uses the word anti-locution. At this level, Allport says most people who have prejudices talk about them with like-minded friends or occasionally with strangers. Today, those networks can become even larger. We see verbal disapproval can surface in public spaces, mass media, or online. Avoidance. When prejudice is more intense, it goes beyond words to the act of avoiding members of the disliked group. This action doesn't directly inflict harm, but it can still bring negative consequences. For example, during the COVID-19 pandemic, there was an avoidance of Asian-run businesses in many non-Asian countries due to an inaccurate perceived link between these communities and the spread of the virus. Discrimination. Discrimination is when a person is treated less favorably than how others would be treated in a comparable situation. Allport describes that these actions are more active than the levels below. Discrimination can take the form of individual decisions made on a small scale, or a large-scale institutionalized discrimination, such as what was seen during the apartheid era in South Africa. Physical attack. This stage sees acts of violence, which can be against people or their property. For example, recent research shows that transgender people in the US experience higher rates of both property victimization and personal assault compared to cisgendered people. Extermination. According to Allport, this stage is the ultimate degree of violent expression of prejudice. In Rwanda in 1994, a genocide occurred that saw an estimated 1/10 of the population killed. This erupted from conflict between Hutu and Tutsi ethnicities in the country. The genocide did not develop out of nowhere. One witness recounts, on the radio they started hate speech. They called us inyensi or cockroaches, constantly repeating that minority Tutsis were not people, but parasites or a disease that must be eradicated, contributed to the idea that the lives of the Tutsi were worthless. The Allport scale shows how hate speech can escalate to the acts of discrimination and violence. This is not confined to one historical moment or place, but a lesson for all of us in the present day. What steps can you take against prejudice that you see today?